By Sri Lanka's best internet package for online learning and online working with many amazing offers. Call 1212 for more information. Sri Lanka Telecom.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, take care. The GMOA rings alarm bells and calls for better supervision of the Colombo municipality as death toll in the area rises. Meanwhile, authorities are having to twist the arm of the people for PCR testing.
We are going to conduct a special operation in respect of the persons who have disobeyed, especially in respect of PCR test.
Long-awaited respite. 3 areas in the Colombo district and 2 in Gamba to get reprieve from isolation tomorrow. Have no fear. The chairman of the Colombo Stock Exchange dispels fears linked to listing state-owned enterprises.
Some of the largest banks in the world are Chinese state-controlled banks.
Not a prison break. Unrest at the Mahara prison leaves an inmate dead. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Sunday, the 29th of November, 2020.
Nava sunlight sakura. Then dikukal pavatina sakura mal suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanayaka. Now let's start off by taking a look at the pandemic situation. The Government Medical Officers Association is calling for better supervision of the Colombo municipality, given that a bulk of the COVID-19 deaths from the Colombo district are from the areas under the CMC jurisdiction. It says that 91% of the island's deaths are confirmed from the Western Province, and from that, 74% come from within the Colombo district. The seriousness of the pandemic situation cannot be stressed enough. But owing to some actions of some people, the authorities are now having to twist the arm of the people to volunteer for PCR testing.
Sri Lanka recorded its lowest daily number of COVID-19 deaths in 4 days yesterday, with just 2 fatalities being reported. On Friday, however, the country reported 8 fatalities. The 2 deceased COVID-19 victims were persons who resided within the Colombo Municipal Council. One of them was a 76-year-old man residing in the area of Slave Island. He had died upon admission to the Colombo National Hospital on the 26th of this month. The cause of his death was stated as high blood pressure and chronic kidney disease, which had been exacerbated due to the COVID-19 virus infection. The second victim was a 96-year-old woman who had died at her residence in the area of Colombo 8. Her cause of death was COVID-19 pneumonia with asthma.
සමස්ත මරණ වලින් 91ක් බස්නාහිර පළාත වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඉතුරු පරිපාලන දිස්ත්‍රික්ක 22කින්ම වාර්තා වෙලා තියෙන්නේ 9%යි. සංඛ්‍යාත්මකව ගත්තාම රෝගීන් 9 දෙනෙක් විතර. බස්නාහිර පළාතෙත් අපි දන්නවා කොළඹ දිස්ත්‍රික්කය ඇතුළේ තමයි වැඩිම අවදානම් තියෙන්නේ. මරණ සංඛ්‍යාවෙන් 74%ක්ම කොළඹ දිස්ත්‍රික්කය ඇතුළේ වෙලා තියෙනවා. සමස්ත මරණ වලින් 79ක්. ඊගාවට මරණ 13ක් ගම්පහ, ඒ කියන්නේ 12ක් වගේ ප්‍රමාණයක්. ඊගාවට කළුතර මරණ 6යි, 5ක් විතර ප්‍රමාණයක්. කොළඹ දිස්ත්‍රික්කය 77 නොත් අති බහුතරය වෙලා කොළඹ මහනගර සභා සීමාව ඇතුළේ. ඒ හින්දා තමයි මහනගර සභා සීමාව ඊටාම අධීක්ෂණය කළ සුපරීක්ෂාකාරී විදිහට කළමනාකරණය කරන්න ඕනයි කියලා රජයේ වෛද්‍යාරික සංගම විදිහට අපි යෝජනා කරන්නේ.
Meanwhile, 496 novel coronavirus cases were reported today. That is far less than the number of cases reported during the course of yesterday, which is 487. As it has been the trend in recent times, the lion's share of the infections were confirmed from the Colombo district with 223. From that number, 56 were reported from the area of Halsdorp, 45 from the area of Kotahena and 28 from Slave Island, all belonging to the Colombo municipality. 2 infections meanwhile were also confirmed from the Colombo harbour. In the meantime, the Gamba district accounted for 78 COVID-19 cases yesterday, while 15 cases were reported from the district of Kandy, 14 each from Kurunegala and Ratnapura, 13 from Mathura, while 8 cases were confirmed from Gaul. There were also 7 cases reported from the Ampara district, 3 from Matale, 2 from Nuarelia and 1 case from Trincomalee. What's more, 109 infections from yesterday fall into the category called others, meaning the patient's residence cannot be confirmed.
මේ වාර්තා වෙන රෝගීන්ගෙන් අපි මේ දිස්ත්‍රික්ක විදිහට බෙදලා දුන්නට පස්සේ ඉතුරු වෙන එමෙන්න වෙනත් කියන ශීර්ෂයේ යටතේ රෝගීන් 100ක් වගේ ප්‍රමාණයක් ඉතුරු වෙන ස්වභාවයක් දක්නට ලැබුණා. මේක තරම් හොඳ තත්ත්වයක් විදිහට අපි දකින්නේ නැහැ. මොකද මේ 100 200 දැන් කොළඹටවත් කළුතරටවත් ගාල්ලටවත් මාතරටවත් යාපනයටවත් දාන්නේ නැතුව හිටියට මේ අය ලංකාවේ පුරවැසියෝ. මේ අය ඇත්තටම කොහේ හරි රෝගීන් ඉන්නවා. ඒතර ඒ අය කොහෙද ඉන්නේ කියලා අපිට නම් කරගන්න බැරි වීම ඉතාම බරපතල තත්ත්වයක්.
Meanwhile, Commissioner General of Prisons Tushar Upuldeniyar stated that 183 new COVID-19 infections have been identified from the Mahara prison. With this development, the total number of coronavirus cases identified from prisons have risen to 1,091. 119 inmates, however, have successfully recovered from the virus to date. In another development, an inmate at the Bogambara prison who was quarantined had attempted to escape last night. Prison officials had fired shots into the air to prevent him from escaping. The Department of Prisons said that the inmate in question is a drug addict. In the meantime, with 3 police officers being diagnosed with COVID-19, the overall number of coronavirus infected police officers have risen to 1,158. However, 800 of them have fully recovered from the virus thus far. Experts have clearly stated following research that the strain of the virus presently in circulation is more dangerous than the number of deaths racked up since the second wave came into being is enough proof. Though that is the case, some people have adopted the narrow single-minded approach of not cooperating with health officials, especially refusing to provide samples for PCR testing. What's more, some people in isolated areas disregarded quarantine curfew and congregate without giving a single thought to the danger posed to the country through their actions.
We are going to conduct a special operation in respect of the persons who have disobeyed quarantine orders, rules and regulations, especially in respect of PCR test. The health authorities had informed the inmates of certain isolated areas to give their samples for PCR test, but it has been revealed that some inmates of isolated areas are reluctant to give their samples. So therefore, special teams are deployed in order to monitor this situation, and we are conducting investigation. And after the quarantine period or the isolation period, we are going to take stern action against them by filing court cases, and apart from that, action would be taken in respect of their movable and immovable properties under the quarantine law.
In another development, public health inspectors in the areas of Beruwala and Kalutara are on strike over the reinstatement of a public health inspector who had been the cause of conflicts and disharmony among various private and state institutions there in the past. The PHI in question had been suspended in March, and following his recent reinstatement, had caused friction once more, this time on social media. The PHIs engaged in trade union action calling for the errant PHIs removal are presently replaced with dengue prevention assistance to ensure the continuous operation of COVID-19 prevention measures in the Beruwala and Kalutara MOH divisions.
Safeguard hand sanitizer නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නිරෝගීමත් දිවයකට ලංකාවේ පළමු වරට හඳුන්වා දෙන Melbourne Veggie Cracker.
Crunchy veggie.
Now, people in several areas in the Colombo and Gampar districts which were under isolation can look forward to some respite tomorrow, with the government planning to bring them out of isolation. As we have been pointing out in recent weeks, Colombo district is at most risk from the spread of COVID-19, with the Colombo municipality especially being at high risk. Though Peta is among the areas which will be freed tomorrow, the old Manning Market will remain closed.
Several areas in the districts of Colombo and Gampar will be brought out of isolation at 5 a.m. tomorrow. Accordingly, the police areas of Peta, Fosho and Mattakulli in the Colombo district will be removed from its current status of isolation. Though it is decided to bring the police area of Peta out of isolation from tomorrow morning, the old Manning Market is not permitted to operate.
Normal services could function in Peta area except the Manning Market, and in addition to that, the wholesale businesses in respect of 4th and 5th cross lanes. So therefore, it is restricted, and all other functions could be conducted in Peta police area, and all the vendors or the community in respect of wholesale, so they have to select alternative places for their day-to-day businesses until this order is removed. However, the quarantine order in respect of the isolation is removed by 5 o'clock tomorrow morning in respect of Peta police area.
However, the police areas of Modara, Blue Mendel, Kotahena, Grand Pass, Barber Street, Dam Street, Keselvatta, as well as Maligavatta, Dematagoda and Maradana will remain isolated until further notice. Furthermore, the Grama divisions of Vakanda and Vanathamulla will also remain isolated. In the meantime, several other areas in the Colombo district will be added to the list of isolated areas from tomorrow morning. Accordingly, the area south of Ferguson Road in Mattakulya police area, as well as the Salamul and Vijaypura Grama divisions in Vallampitiya police area will be isolated from tomorrow. Furthermore, Randiya Uyana housing scheme in Mattakulya police area and the Laksanda 7 housing scheme in Vallampitiya police area will also remain isolated. Meanwhile, the police areas of Nigambo and Ragam in the Gampa district will no longer be in isolation from tomorrow morning. However, the status of isolation in the police areas of Vattala, Palyagoda and Kalaniya will remain until further notice. In the meantime, reopening of schools continue to be a point of contention, with the government deciding to isolate specific localities identified as COVID-19 risk areas, letting daily life in other areas to carry on as usual. A decision was made to reopen schools from the 23rd of this month for grades 6 to 13. However, the power was granted by the Ministry of Education to the regional authorities and the committee headed by the school principals to make the final decision on reopening their respective schools, taking the COVID-19 risk level in relevant localities into consideration. Though that is the case, the teachers' associations continue to object reopening of schools, saying the parents still lack full confidence over the safety of their children. Meanwhile, Mayor of Damulla, Jalia Opatha, said that a decision has been made to close the schools in the Damulla educational zone for a period of 1 week from tomorrow owing to the risk of COVID-19 in the area. When the schools first reopened for the third term at the beginning of last week, attendance was on the low side. However, it picked up as the week went by.
Now, National Security Advisor of India, Ajit Doval, says that his government is willing to invest in new fields that can contribute to Sri Lanka's economic development. He made these comments during a meeting last evening with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the Presidential Secretariat.
National Security Advisor of India, Ajit Doval, who arrived in the island on Friday, called on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the Presidential Secretariat last evening. The head of state and the Indian Security Advisor engaged in a fully fruitful discussion aimed at further strengthening all forms of bilateral relations. Indo-Sri Lanka security cooperation, maintaining peace and security in the Indian Ocean region, infrastructure development in Sri Lanka were among the major topics discussed. During the meeting, both sides agreed that the infrastructure development projects initiated with the assistance of India should be completed expeditiously. Further, Doval expressed India's willingness to identify and invest in new fields that can contribute to the economic growth in Sri Lanka. In addition, both the President and the Indian Security Advisor stressed the need to further consolidate mutually beneficial bilateral cooperation, which is already at a very satisfactory level.
In the meantime, Indian National Security Advisor and Maldives Defence Minister Maria Didi participated in the inaugural event of the 4th NSA-level trilateral meeting on maritime cooperation yesterday. During the meeting, Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said that Sri Lanka possesses a long-standing focus on the Indian Ocean stability. During the meeting, Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said that security is not just limited to physical security and consequent regional stability, but it also encompasses non-traditional security challenges, including threats to maritime environment. He also said that maritime security remains one of the government's highest priorities amidst increasingly busy international sea lanes in the ocean. Minister Gunawardena also went on to say that Sri Lanka's focus on the Indian Ocean stability has been long-standing. Further, the Sri Lankan maritime economy has great potential, especially in the new green-blue economic policies, and one such area is the untapped renewable power generation in the Indian waters. The minister said that Sri Lanka's security apparatus is professional and well-trained. However, the sheer vastness of the Indian Ocean makes it very challenging for the naval forces to entirely curb illegal activities like unrestricted economic activities and free movements of various illegal activities such as human trafficking, drugs and arms. Furthermore, the enhanced cooperation and information sharing on such illegal activities between the navies and Coast Guard will be crucial in this process. Minister Gunawardena added that the future potential on the region's technological growth is absolutely promising and the present success in the IT sector is a very good indicator. He noted that every single bit of data that travels through physical lines underwater and in the air above our ocean can easily generate a new economy with greater source of revenue similar to shipping lanes of present day. A tense situation arose among the inmates at the Mahara prison this evening. With that, the police special task force was deployed to control the situation at the prison premises. The Commissioner General of Prisons, Tushar Upuldenia, stated that one inmate was killed after prison officials opened fire to control the situation. Furthermore, 2 inmates have sustained injuries and they have been admitted to the hospital for treatment. Police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana said that 5 police teams led by Kalaniya Senior Superintendent of Police and the Ragama Superintendent of Police were dispatched to assist the prison authorities to control the situation. Several more teams led by an Assistant Superintendent of Police have also been dispatched. Now, the driver of a tipper truck who ran over a police officer during a raid on illegal sand mining in Nikavarati last night was arrested by the police today. A 32-year-old police constable was killed during last night's incident.
A 32-year-old police constable, Pradeep Akash Ratnayaka, attached to the Kobbegane police station, was killed after being run over by a tipper truck during a raid on illegal sand mining near Daduroya. The incident had occurred at around midnight when the police ordered the truck to be stopped. Though the injured police officer was rushed to hospital, he had already succumbed. The deceased constable was a father of 2. The managerial inquest of the deceased constable was conducted by Nikavaratiya Magistrate Shashiga Lakmali Disanayaka this afternoon. Later, 2 police teams were appointed to track down the suspect. The tipper truck involved in the incident was found by the police this morning in an area 2 kilometers away from the Kuliapitiya town. The absconding suspect too was arrested from the Nikavaratiya town.
It has been revealed that the suspect who has committed this murder had involved in 3 crimes in the past. He had transported timber illegally and he has been convicted in respect of that particular illegal timber transportation, and he has been fined 50,000 rupees by the court. In addition to that, the lorry that had been used to transport timber has been confiscated by the court. In addition to that, another 2 cases are pending against this particular suspect in respect of sand transportation. Both are pending at the moment.
We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Bear with us.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the Colombo Stock Exchange welcomes the idea of the government tapping into the stock exchange to raise capital and says it is prepared to formulate new frameworks to accommodate the government's needs if it chooses to list state-owned enterprises at the market. Speaking to Indiva Riyamuat on our current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24, Chairman of the CSE, Dumit Fernando, articulated how the government can list SOEs at the stock exchange and still retain control over them whilst easing pressure on the Treasury.
Bringing SOEs to the capital market, what does it mean here? Does it mean we will see growth, we will see more engagement? And secondly, what does this do to state enterprises if you list them on the Colombo Stock Exchange? Whether it means privatization. If not privatization, how do we go about this?
It's a topic that brings about much confusion. Listing at its basis is commercializing enterprises a little more. Even if you're listing a company just to raise debt, not equity, you still have to go through a process which can be very helpful and constructive for companies, or in the case of state-owned enterprises, for them. There is a governance requirement, there are disclosure requirements, reporting requirements, which all make sure that the companies operate in a disciplined manner within a set of frameworks, and the SEC Act, which has been well thought through to make sure that investors are protected, and that in itself is a win from listing. Outside of that, I think it is an opportunity to unlock value in any company, whether it's a state-owned or private company. company. I think by listing you can realize that value and also raise capital. Listing is not about privatization. Listing is about helping state-owned enterprises grow faster by raising capital, which the government may not be in a position to provide at the moment because the government has many other priorities, but to raise capital from the public, from savings pools of investors, and use that capital to generate faster growth and therefore faster dividend to its shareholders, which primarily will continue to be the government. So it's a great way for the government actually to start earning better dividends from these companies if they can grow these companies faster, make them more commercial, make them more competitive through the listing process by actually taking capital from the public rather than pumping that in from the treasury. And we're very open to come up with new ways in which SOEs can list without losing control.
Who will own these state-owned enterprises once it's listed on the Colombo Stock Exchange? What's the kind of framework that you're working within?
The primary framework we're looking at is that the government will first have to come to a conclusion on which of their assets are core and strategic and what are non-core. With non-core assets, the government can obviously decide whether they continue to hold controlling stakes or not. But core state-owned enterprises, where the government does not want to lose control, we think we have frameworks within which that can happen. Firstly, if you list a minority of the shares, say, even a 10% listing to the public, again, it helps you achieve the objective of raising capital from the public without tapping into the already stretched treasury. And you don't really give up control. I mean, of course, there will be some transparency and governance requirements, but the government can still very much own, 80 or 90%. So clearly there is no loss of control.
So the government won't per se be giving out or handing over ownership even
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Take the largest banks in China, the state-owned enterprises. Some of the largest banks in the world are Chinese state-controlled banks. Now, they're listed. They got huge demand from international investors for their shares, but the government still has control over the boards and the decision making on some of these companies. And it runs well, and they've been extremely profitable. They've generated huge dividends for the state, and it has also generated good returns for employees who, through listing of state-owned enterprises, can generate some incentives through employee share ownership schemes, etc.
Has there been any sort of discussion, or is there a positive response from the government to this?
We have not yet had that discussion. We wanted to see and understand the government's strategy on this after the budget. What we have been working, though, in the meantime, is try to put in structures that could be friendly to the government's needs.
So allow these state-owned enterprises to
list without loss of control. So for instance, we are looking at the ability to be flexible with our rules around the limits on non-voting share issuance, so that government enterprise could potentially be listed and issue non-voting shares if there's demand for that, in which case...
Sorry to interrupt, but does this mean we will be seeing a set of regulations or a framework or some sort of directive coming in which may set the tone and the framework for SOEs to be listed, so that the government knows exactly how they can, all these enterprises and institutions know how to work with the
I can with much confidence say this: the board of the stock exchange and I are very much supportive of developing or coming up with new regulations or listing rules or frameworks that would accommodate the needs of the state if the state does want to tap into the stock exchange as a form of capital raising.
Right.
Now, the positive momentum that prevailed during the previous week at the Colombo Stock Exchange is expected to flow into the next week as well. The activity levels at the Bourse are also expected to reduce during the month of December owing to the festive season. The Colombo Stock Exchange sustained its winning streak for a fourth consecutive session, recording a near 12-month high at the close of trade last Friday. Now, let's see what we can expect in the market during the upcoming week.
We feel that there could be again positive momentum in the upcoming week as well, with the buying interest that is there in the market. However, we are going into the December month and also more closer towards the festive season. So there could be a reduction in overall activity levels. However, we feel that retail buying interest will continue during next week as well. In addition to that, we feel that the shift into blue chip counters from the retail favorite counters is likely to slowly scale up, and with that we feel that there'll be more activity coming into these blue chip counters. So capital goods is the sector that investors should have their attention in, and then we feel that foreign activity again will be very low because we are going into the month of December. So it will be more local participation dominated market that we are likely to see in the upcoming week.
We'll see you shortly. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.